We can get started. It's 1 o'clock. Welcome to the 35th Coffee Lecture Series from the Chemistry, Biology, Pharmacy Information Center. I'm Gina Cannarozzi, and today I'm going to tell you what ETH provides in terms of generative AI large language models. And the underlying issue here is data privacy. Okay, so maybe we all remember in 2022 when ChatGPT-3 came on the scene, and it was so exciting, and then it's just got more and more. The models have gotten better and better. So the evolution looks something like this. Where's my mouse? We started with some basic models, and since then there's been different kinds of refinement that have come: supervised fine-tuning, reinforcement learning, and then we got multimodal models where you can, the same model can deal with text, images, video, and audio. Now we have retrieval augmented generation where the model can actually go search information and incorporate that into the answer. And last are reasoning models or chain of thought thinking. And this has happened so fast. It's incredible how in just 3 years, so much has been done. So basically what I'm talking about today is data privacy. And for the purposes of data privacy, I'm just going to say very little about how the models were trained. What I want to emphasize is that all available text that these companies could get their hands on was used to train the base model. After that comes some refinement learning. You can use human feedback. There's different learning ways how the model can improve itself, and you can fine-tune them also on narrower and better data sets. And the result of this is all these different models we have today. If we take GPT-4, which came out in 2023, what's important here is you have a neural network with around 1 trillion. I mean, these estimates vary, but a lot of parameters, 1 trillion, 1.76 trillion parameters is what it says on the website. And to train these models, it takes 25,000 GPUs for 90 to 100 days. So it's enormously resource intensive. How that impacts data privacy is that we're constantly trying to improve the model. Improving models requires new data. User interactions and user data are an important source of new data. So companies need your interactions to train the models. So this is why if you're dealing with confidential data, you have to think about it. So what's the big deal? Well, there's numerous cases where in Amazon and Slack and Samsung, confidential information had been leaked out in the Amazon and Samsung because the staff was using ChatGPT and putting confidential information in there, and it popped up somewhere else. And this is what you don't want to happen with your research data. So your research data is considered confidential by ETH Zurich. ETH has 4 levels of confidentiality. There's public, internal, confidential, and strictly confidential. And they all of these classifications depend on how much damage ETH Zurich could get if unauthorized individuals get that data. Research data is considered confidential, and that's before publication. So research data, primary and secondary, and also planned and ongoing research projects. So these, you as a ETH student or ETH Mitarbeiter need to keep these data confidential. The source for this is this directive, inventory and classification of information at ETH Zurich. There's a whole team of people, oh, maybe not a whole team of people. There's at least one chief information security officer, but I have the feeling that the IT Dienst also works on this. So this is worth having a look at if you collect research data. So ETH licenses Microsoft Copilot and Google Gemini, and these provide protected data spaces. So Google and Microsoft promise that if you log in with your ETH credentials, via this Microsoft 365 cloud subscription or Google Workspace, that your data will be protected. And so that's a good thing to have. If you look at what you get for Microsoft Copilot, it's called Enterprise Data Protection version, and it's not the same as the Pro version. What you get is protected status, and that's what's most important to ETH, I think. You have internet search, and you can make text and images. There's a lot of other things. You can upload documents for questioning. What you don't get is the Pro version, and that has sometimes better models and integration into Office and other Microsoft. So that's what we get with from ETH, and kind of the same with Google Gemini. They promise a protected data space. And you have the same kind of features. Today I logged in and looked though, and I have both. I have the ETH protected version with my ETH login and the Pro model, and the models were the same. So this all changes so fast, it's kind of hard to document. Okay, ChatGPT does not have protected data and is not recommended for confidential data. But if you do use it for personal reasons, we recommend to switch off the option, improve the model for everyone. You can find that in the settings, and that way they say your data will not be used for training the model. They also have down here, like when I asked it today about how do I update my firmware, and it gave me an answer, and then it has this, thumbs up, thumbs down. There, you're contributing to training the model if you grade the response that it gets. Okay, but the question remains, can you trust tech companies to keep our data safe? And there's a lot of global tension in this area now. For example, in the USA, they passed the Cloud Act, and the Cloud Act basically says that communication and cloud service providers, that's Amazon, Google, the ones that are domiciled in the USA must give the USA government access to user data, even if the data is stored outside the USA. And this goes completely against European data protection. So there's some kind of tension there. And this is all the big ones. Microsoft, Google, Meta, Amazon, and Dropbox are all domiciled in the USA. Another way that US law can affect what happens to European data is that what happened is a bunch of news organizations, including the New York Times, sued OpenAI for copyright infringement because they took all of this data, whether they had the right to it or not, is what this lawsuit is alleging. And the US court ruled that all chats had to be stored, but that's all the chats from the Pro, all the chats from the API, and this is against European data regulations. And OpenAI is arguing that they want to respect the user's privacy decisions, but the US court said you have to save them. So it's these kind of things that can influence the big ones. So there's two things you can do about that. You can use open weight models. You can also use European models. What is an open weight model? Well, the big ones are closed source models. They're proprietary. They're sold for commercially. So this is ChatGPT, Google, Microsoft, Anthropic's Claude. These ones are very high performing. You also have a lot that are open weight models, and that's the code and the model weights are publicly accessible. You can download those and you can use them on your own computer. And the big one here, the one that's performing really well, are Meta's models, Llama. They give those away. DeepSeek is a Chinese model and Mistral is a French model. So the advantages here are you can run them on your own machine. You're in control of your data. The advantages here are you have really high performance. Okay, but if you look at the performance of open models, the open ones are in blue, the closed ones, proprietary commercial models, are in orange. You can see if you look at any 1 year, blue is below orange, and it's continued that way. But the open models are getting closer and closer to the closed models, so they're catching up. It's estimated anything from 5 to 22 months of lag between the open and closed. And I use this, if I want to use a closed model, an open model, I use GPT for all, but there's a lot of such things where you can download the software GPT for all and find models, and it has a whole list of models. You just click on it and you can see they use you need 8 or 16 gigabytes of RAM, and the file sizes are small, but these have a lot fewer parameters than the big Chat GPT-4. So that's one thing you can do. There's another one called Olama. This is what University of Zurich recommends. It's a command line software, and they have another set. And these are kind of like tweaked models, I think, to make them small enough to fit on a laptop computer. So there's also European models. The big one is France's Mistral. So I would encourage you to give it a try. If compare, and when I use these models, I will take 5 models, run the same question, and I can judge which one's giving me the best. They also have a lot of models. One's good for coding, one's good for math, one's good for text. So you have to look around and see what kind of models are there and what suits your needs. So in conclusions, at ETH, you're responsible for your confidential data. To keep your data safe, if the open source models work, you can consider using those. You should use Google Gemini or Microsoft Copilot with your ETH credentials. You can get this at the Microsoft Cloud at the IT shop. I think Google works without going to the cloud, but we also have a cloud subscription at the IT shop. And if you're using any generative AI, look at the settings and try and make it as safe as possible. And so for everybody here, there's a ETH library Moodle course on AI-based tools for scientific writing and research, but a lot of the ethics and a lot of the these problems with using these models are discussed at length in here. So this is free. Everybody can sign up. It's not related to a semester. I highly encourage everybody to look at this course. So that's it. Any questions?